Whatever rocks your socks, whatever spins your top, whatever winds your watch, whatever flips your flop, whatever turns you on, whatever flies your flag, whatever bangs your gong, or whatever swings your bag. Do it often, but do it well, 'cause nobody knows and there's no way to tell when the ride ends.
The Three Faces of Eve by Steve Rosse. A man walked into a small tavern on Soi Bang La on the afternoon of an especially hot day in the dry season. He stood in the door a moment and allowed his eyes to grow accustomed to the dim light. When he could make out shapes in the gloom, he felt his way across the room and gratefully took a place at the bar. "Would you like something to drink?" These words came from a woman of middle age who had been asleep behind the bar. She looked red-eyed and frazzle-haired, but she was wide awake in a moment. Her name was Noi, and she was 45 years old. 10 years before, Noi had been a fairly well-known actress in Bangkok, starting out playing the ingenue on TV dramas. But when they started to cast her as the older sister, then as the scorned wife, and finally as the mother, she left Bangkok, changed her name, and purchased a 50% share in the bar on Soi Bang La. She was drinking herself quickly into bankruptcy and the grave, and she knew it, and she didn't give a damn. "I'll have a beer, sweetheart," said the man. Noi called out to Nu, who was reading a comic book in a chair on the sidewalk in front of the bar. Nu put down her book in no great hurry and sauntered inside. She was a teenager with fresh skin and a page boy haircut. It was a glimpse of Nu splayed lazily in her chair that had drawn the man to this bar. Nu was what is known around Phuket as the designated virgin. Usually this will be somebody's niece or little sister, cute and perky and just helping out around the bar since they're too young to work legally. They wash glasses and tend the bar, but they are really just honey to attract flies, which the older girls will then snap up like hungry lizards. In point of fact, Nu was not a virgin. She had given up that title to a young Englishman named Spencer. He was a sound engineer for a punk band in Manchester and had come to Phuket when he cut his hand on a broken beer bottle and couldn't twirl knobs anymore. In 2 months, Spencer had spent all of his money and a lot of his father's money, given himself alcohol poisoning on 2 occasions, and swept Nu off her feet by claiming to know Axl Rose. He disappeared, leaving behind 40,000 baht in unpaid bar bills and a sadder but wiser Nu. The other girls all told her she was crazy for having given away something so valuable, and she knew they were right. But still in all, she loved Spencer, and she wished he would come back. "Make sure it's a cold one, sweetheart, and say, what's your name?" Nu pulled the first bottle she could see out of the ice and slid it along the bar to the man without answering, and after that, he ceased to exist in Nu's universe. She picked up her comic book and leaned against the bar, knowing that Noi wouldn't allow her to go back outside as long as the man was drinking. But she put her back toward him, and she gave her complete attention to her book. "Hey, sexy man, where you come from?" Out of the gloom at the back of the bar, another woman glided up to the man and perched herself on a stool next to him. She was very thin, except for a pair of obviously augmented breasts. The whites of her eyes were stained brown by years of opium abuse, and she had some smeary tattoos on her arms. She leaned over to the man, pushing her enormous breasts at him and giving him a smile that showed a lot of enthusiasm and some really bad teeth. She began to run her hand up and down his thigh, keeping up a patter of pidgin English, liberally peppered with the phrase, "Godverdamt." Her name was Ott. She was 34 years old, and she came from the northeast of Thailand. Her first job, other than scrabbling for a living in the fields with her family, was in a crib brothel in Bangkok. When she'd worked there for 2 years and paid off the money her father had received by selling her there, she left the brothel and took a bus for Pattaya. She'd been in business for herself since then, and she had never returned home. A couple of months after arriving in Pattaya, Ott met a young Falang boy who was on vacation with his parents. Ott was the boy's first sexual partner. He fell in love with her and ran away from his parents, taking a big stack of traveler's checks with him. His father found them, but the boy refused to leave without Ott, and because his family wanted him back at school, Ott got to see snow. She and the boy lived in an apartment off campus, and Ott quickly had a son, but father and mother weren't happy with her, and one day the police busted the boy with some heroin, and somehow it was Ott who took the rap. She was sent back to Bangkok without money, clothes, or baby. All she carried out of Europe was the word "Godverdamt." It had been 15 years, and try as she might, there was no way to go back, not for a girl with a prior drug conviction. In all that time, she had not received a single card or letter from her husband. The only address she had was her in-laws, and she knew what happened to her letters there. She had not seen so much as a photograph of her son in all those years. But she still prayed for him every single day. The man grew tired of Ott's flirting and refused to buy her a drink or play dominoes. He spotted a friend walking past on the sidewalk. He put some money on the bar, and he rushed out. As he walked up Soi Bangla with his friend, he was asked, "So, how was that place you were in? I've never been in there." "No, it's nothing. Really dead," the man replied. "Not a soul in the place." I pick up these cigarette lighters off the beach in the mornings when I walk. The most I've ever brought back was 172 in a single morning. I can usually bring 10 or 15 back just walking 100 meters up the beach, especially in the rainy season. So I thought I'd try to make an art project. That's the view from the front of my house. And I reckoned I'd make a stained glass window that would kind of mimic the sunset. It's not the right time of day, but you can see I tried to get the sea lined up with the sea, and later on I'll see if I can get it with the sunset. It didn't turn out very well. I'm not happy with it, and I'm going to probably take it down for a bunch of reasons. First of all, it didn't occur to me these doors don't open all the way. I started making the window without making sure those doors could slide this way out of the way. And it turns out that when you put them up like this, the dirt that's inside, I clean the outsides real well, but I can't get inside to get the dirt that's inside some of these. And some of them are quite clean and pretty. But I think as a surface treatment, it's better than as a see-through window. Also, because there are a very wide variety of actual sizes and shapes of lighters, you end up getting seams that are gaps. It doesn't quite match up all the way across. But every single one of these lighters represents an old man bending over and picking up something off the beach. Every single lighter I've picked up off the beach. My friend Hans has given me a couple handfuls, maybe 50 lighters in total, but there's 500 on this window and probably another 500 here, but I've used up all my warm colors. I've used up all the reds and pinks. So whatever I do next, and I thought to do this window next, but I don't think I'm gonna, because these doors just don't get out of the way. Anyway, that's a kind of a failed art project.